before we look at the awful content of Clown World, we like to fire up a device called the catalytic converter. This piece of ancient Ramesh technology basically means that all of this terrible Clown World media, we can use it and fuel this machine to try and have some spiritual, or at least maybe not progression, but we can at least get some comedy out of it, right? Because at the end of the day, there is quite a lot of sludge. I came across this. Man filmed himself castrating other men so they could appear on his eunuch maker website as secret society face trial. Now, this actually came out on the 22nd of March 2023. So this came out on Skull and Bones Day.
This is 322.
This jumps out at me as being something more than it's described on the tin. So this guy called Gustavsson, Norway-born, is accused of being the heart of a wide-ranging conspiracy involving up to 29 offences of extreme body modification, the removal of body parts, the trading body parts, and the uploading of videos.
The trading of body parts.
The group allegedly brought in some £200,000 in income for their extreme actions. Gustavsson is charged with conspiracies to cause grievous bodily harm with intent between January 1st, 2016. Removing a man's penis, the clamping of another man's testicles, freezing off a man's leg. Freezing of a man's leg which required amputation. It sounds like they were harvesting people's body parts.
For sure.
To order.
He himself had his own leg, penis, and nipple removed and appeared in a wheelchair. Oh, right, okay. So it sounds like, okay.
He hasn't been involved in that particular, always...
Well, think about it. If you were in the business of harvesting people's body parts, then if you had like one of these extreme body modification cults, you could control them and just convince loads of people to give their body parts away.
That's really fucked up, man.
That is really fucked up. I thought we'd end on something nice.
Have you heard of Genesis Peorage?
What? No.
There's a guy called Genesis Peorage. He formed something called Psychic TV, and he was the guy who's kind of behind KLF and the leaders of the rave culture. He was in his later years with his partners. They were swapping body parts, trying to become male and female androgynous. He kind of died doing it, but he's a good character.
Yeah, I've seen various things about people doing this over the years. There's this guy on one program who was slowly chiseling off his limbs, just piece by piece himself, because he was obsessed with making his silhouette or his shadow smaller. So every time he cast a silhouette, there was less of it.
That is fucking weird.
Yeah, I read something. There was another man who was eating himself. He was frying like parts of his body.
So this guy, he has his own...
Like going like full Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah. Ribbons and everything.
Like setting the table nicely and, fine china and shit.
Being a self-consumer. Gustavsson appeared alongside Peter Waite, 65, from Croydon, who is charged with conspiracy to cause GBH with intent. 29 incidents. Gretna Green, Scotland, is said to have been involved in 2 incidents. Right. I'm just looking here for any other weird details. Okay, so
I think we've reached weird.
But yeah, they are said to be part of a secret society where men voluntarily remove genitalia and body parts. This is thought to be linked to a NULLO subculture. Wow. Short for genital nullification. So there's a subculture called NULLO where you nullify your own genitalia in some sort of like secret society or cult.
So that's
I wonder where all the genitalia is going to once it's been nullified.
It said earlier, didn't they? Swapping. So he's been done for swapping body parts, trading body parts.
Yeah, trading.
That's what they're using like fucking penises as a fucking currency.
It's neutering him, isn't it, really?
Well, his website was called Eunuch Maker. But what I'm trying to suggest is if there is this like subculture called NULLO, where there's these weird 60-year-old men or whoever that are cutting off their own genitals
voluntarily,
I can guarantee that there is someone making benefit of this. And it seems that there's a secret society of people trading in their body parts. So, Clown World never fails to amaze us.
Probably people may be eating it. Cannibalism was canon, the Canaan line in Baal,
Yeah, Cain and Bao. Yes, yeah, I've heard of that before. Yeah, very salient.
I used to do a comedy bit because I watched this documentary on ITV or something where S&M guys in the masochism were use a cheese grater on their bell end.
Stop! That's ultimate survival. That is.
What do they do with the shredded cockpits? You can.
Oh yeah, we've got a bell end cheese grater workshop at Equinox next week. Yeah, ultimate survival technique.
You've got a pre-book.
Yeah, pre-booking.
That'll be
is
a busy
essential.
one.
Yeah, we've got to get enough instructors
you
in.
can actually only do it once though.
It's a one-try workshop. Please stop. I'm glad it's after midnight. All right. So I think on that note.
Yeah, I think that's enough.
No,
yeah, that is enough.
Actually got a question. I've got a question.
Oh, we've got to say who won the competition.
Oh, yeah,
as well.
Yeah, and we've also got to open up the questions for Billy as well for the thing while I'm getting ready and shit.
Okay.
Also, I wanted to know, right, so do you live in a rural area or is it quite built up, Billy?
It's quite rural. It's a small village.
Yeah, and how are the locals? Are they all going to Britney dance or are they? Or are they
So I was the only one me and my
Really?
partner, only one in the local town, basically, no wearing a mask. And
Wow.
actually, there's a whole story. I
That's
lost my
surprising.
job through fighting this and trying to wake up the work, and it's a long story. Went to court.
That's a sad story. The thing is like in where my older brother lives, they basically what they did is that they all ganged together and like, nah, fuck you, school, we're not shutting. The whole village went on shut down themselves, and none of them went to a Britney concert. In fact, they stood there strong, and no one in the council could do anything about it.
Well
And
done.
then, it wasn't just that. It seemed to bunny hop to the next village and the next village, and then before you know it, North Somerset is a little bit easier to roll around in your normal day life.
The power of unity.
Yeah, man.
So that's quite interesting.
Freedom is contagious.
Just saying, maybe there
It's
is
easier when
power.
you're in the middle of nowhere because there's very few people to fuck it up.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, there's something if people go to my website, I've interviewed somebody called Sarah Salyers recently on Scottish independence and how we've been a colony of England since the Union, and it's all kind of fraud as well. I forgot what I was going to say about that now.
Mate, I do that all the
About
time.
unity in rural areas, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to talk about my local town. I just wanted to get them together because each town needs to understand people in Scotland are actually sovereign. In England, it's the monarch that's sovereign, but in Scotland, it's the people.
That's
so
right.
every community could understand how we've been fucked over, basically, by the English. And
No offence taken.
learn that we're the monarchs and we have the final say over government. We can sack the government at any time. There's this thing called salvo.scot, and they've got a thing called liberation.scot. People are signing up there. And they've got 100,000 people who are going to go and take it to the European Parliament to say, are we in a voluntary union or not, and establish if we're a colony or not. And once we've got that answer, move to becoming independent. And this referendum and Nicola Sturgeon, SNP, that was all bullshit. It's all controlled as well.
Yeah.
So there's an SNP battle going on just now, and there's this one of them in particular called Kate Ash, I think it is. She's speaking a little bit more common sense than most politicians, and she's addressing the real issues. And you've got this guy Humza, who was basically in the Scottish Parliament saying the chief of police is white, this guy's white, that guy's white. He went through this whole list. He's more racist than anyone, and he's just more the status quo. And in the background of the SNP, there's all this kind of shenanigans with, them getting arrested. Nicola Sturgeon and her husband, who was in the background and trying to rig the vote to get Humza in. But, there's a whole issue there about becoming sovereign, and Scottish people have the power. If we could unite each town and understand that and wake up the true Scots law that we had before, we had the system sussed way back in the day, and it's been usurped and everything like that, and we've been linked and everything. So, but it's in us, and if we could do that, we could be like an example, because obviously the ley lines in Britain like that, we've got power. And if this country in Albion, because in England, you could go back to the Constitution. There's a guy called William Katie who's been talking on the Richard Vobes show recently about going back to the Magna Carta, which was done before Parliament. These principles, if people understood them, that is the real law, instead of all this fictional bullshit. And we give people power of understanding that and demanding that of the establishment, because that is the real law,
Yeah, it's very interesting to him, the old knowledge, mate, of how all this started before the Parliament system was brought in and everything.
Yeah, there's a really good movie I watched the other night called The Cheviot the Stag and the Black oil, about how Scotland was taken over by the English after the Culloden, and then it goes into the oil fields, how the Americans came and stole all the oil from Scotland, all these corporations, and the people, it's getting sold to it's going directly to England. The people of Scotland are paying extortionate fuel prices, and we've got the best, reserves in the world practically. We should be a rich country,
Yeah.
Yeah, the North Sea oil. They got this. You got screwed on the North Sea oil, didn't you?
Big time. That movie is really interesting. If people want to check it out, I shared a link to it on my Facebook page recently.
Yeah, interesting stuff.